And look who's here. It's Kris Lindahl. Kris is kind of our first, I don't know, guinea pig, I guess you could say. Somebody who has a high curiosity factor, who we said, let's bring some folks in and just let people ask them whatever, and maybe we can just ask them whatever. And when I called you yesterday, I said, is there anything off the table? And you said, nope, let's go.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
That's right. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So I'm looking at your sweatshirt there, and I have to tell you, this morning at breakfast, when I told my family, my son and my daughter and my husband, I said, hey, guess who I'm interviewing today? And then I did this, and my husband said, Michael Jordan. I said, no. And then my son Christian said, Jesus? I said, no, not Jesus either. So we're interviewing Kris Lindahl today. You have to tell me about this Arms Out thing. The Arms Out real estate company is what you are. You've actually trademarked that.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. The Arms Out is, you know, when I look at my life and the mentors and the people that made a difference in everything that I've had the opportunity to experience in my life came from people that came into my life at the right time. And so the Arms Out brand is to invite people in and create community. Which is just such a, especially in the world that we're in today, it's important to create community, and everyone's looking to find their version of home.
Do you think most people think of that when they look at the Arms Out, or do they look at it and go, this guy, his face is everywhere and he's, you know, doing this? Because you know that people also are like, wow, he is everywhere.
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, it creates attention. And as you know, in marketing or branding, attention is what you are actually looking for, right? And it makes an impact. I will tell you that the people that we work with, they love that we get that attention because it creates more impressions, it creates more visibility for our website, for our brand, which all of the people that we work with get the benefit of that.
Yeah. Speaking of your business, I think a lot of people will know you as the guaranteed cash offer guy, right? You're the guaranteed offer guy. Is that a concept that you came up with, that you copied from somewhere? Are you kind of the pioneer of that, or where did that come from?
Great question. So I've spent, you know, thousands and thousands of hours sitting at kitchen tables with homeowners. I know the pain points of the open market and the stress that's caused by going on the market and having to do price reductions and having to negotiate commissions and closing costs and things falling apart, buyers losing their job. And over time I learned that, like, this is so stressful for so many homeowners that really the concept comes from automotive. Like, when you ask most people, they trade in their car. They know that they could maybe get a little bit more if they go on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, or they put a sign in their car and put it on a busy corner. But most people don't want to go through the inconvenience, especially now more than ever before. We're in such a push-button economy. I mean, Amy, if I would have asked you 10 years ago, how many people would pay $35 to $40 for a cheeseburger on an app, and by the time it showed up at their house, it'll be cold? Right? And you look at how many people push a button and want convenience, and I think so many homeowners on the open market, I mean, the economy's changing, the housing market's changing. I mean, you see all of this, you know, things are definitely evolving. There are so many people that just don't want to go through the risk. And they're also, the smart ones know how much time goes into trying to get your house ready and put it on the market, and all the sleepless nights and stress. And so I had the opportunity to experience that in working with so many homeowners in that open market process. I was like, there's got to be a better way, right? And so, like, now with the smart sellers, especially in this market that's shifting quickly, they want to just trade in their house and move on and get that fresh start to whatever's next in their life.
Yeah, and, you know, I mean, when things sound too good to be true, a lot of times you're going to get skepticism. I'm sure you've heard people say, well, you know, there's caveats in the fine print, and they just kind of lowball you. And I've even seen people say, isn't it predatory? Aren't you targeting people who are just kind of in a hurry and maybe don't have the resources to make, you know, sound decisions, that kind of thing? What do you say to that?
Well, anytime, I mean, we're the first mover, right? So anytime you're a first mover in a category, you're going to get heat when you're doing something that's different. So I totally expect that, and I welcome that. Like, I like the constructive feedback. I like the curiosity of asking questions and wondering, but you really have to go back to automotive. Most people are trading in their car. Right? But you don't hear now, and maybe at the beginning you heard that same sort of, you know, questions and feedback, but today, I mean, I traded in my last vehicle and I didn't go on social media or go anywhere else and say like, hey, I wonder how much they're making on my car when I trade it in. I was happy to trade in my car, save the time, and move on my life with the new car and leave the lot and never have to worry about it again. And so the smart sellers that we're working with on the guaranteed cash offer side that are saying yes, are experiencing that same thing, right? They are moving on and getting to the next chapter of life quickly, where some people are sitting on the open market going, oh, well, I don't want to do that guaranteed cash offer yet, but meanwhile, they're stuck and can't move. And so that's the big piece of the guaranteed cash offer program.
Okay. If you Google, I don't know if do you ever Google yourself?
I don't.
You don't?
No,
okay.
I'm scared. What did it say? No.
Well, the first question that comes up is how much does Kris Lindahl spend on billboards?
Yes, that question comes up all the time, right? And it's a significant amount of money.
Significant amount.
Yes.
You did give me an answer. You promised an answer, and that was an answer. Interesting background. Your degree is actually in education. So did you want to be a teacher originally?
I did.
Then
so
how did you go this way?
You know what's so interesting about what you just said? There's actually life came full circle for me. So I had a coach that made a massive impact in my life back in 8th grade and really inspired me to want to be a coach and a teacher. And so that was really the reason why I went to college and graduated with the education degrees. But then after I student taught and got my degrees, I decided I wanted to go a little bit of a different direction. But full circle now, my entire day is educating homeowners, is educating home buyers, and is educating the agents inside of our company just like a teacher would. And so the skills that I picked up along the way and the things that I learned is exactly what I'm doing. I'm still a teacher at heart. I absolutely love doing anything I possibly can to make a positive impact in the lives of others.
At what point did you stop going out into the field and actually sell homes? And how long have you kind of been, or do you still once in a while go out?
That's a great question. So I don't go out in the field anymore, but I will tell you, no one that we work with will want me doing that. There are other skills that I'm far better at, and there are some that I'm average at, just like any human being. I'm not here today to say, hey, I'm the greatest of all time, or I'm great at everything. There's a lot of things that I will fall short on, but there's others that I will do really well at. And so inside our organization, we really focus on having people in their genius, right? The areas where they are best used. And it's the same thing for me. Like there are certain parts where I'm in my sort of genius, and we try to do that with everyone. And so being out in the field for me is not the best place for me. And none of I would say none of the people that we work with want me there either.
When it comes to your team, there was something that I read. There was an article in 2020 that the Star Tribune did with you. And this was, again, think about the time frame here, right before COVID kind of just went wild. But I was going to look to see what what did it say? Oh, meet Kris Lindahl, the nice guy realtor behind the 600 annoying billboards. From childhood tragedy, which we'll talk about in a minute, to kingpin realtor Kris Lindahl is everywhere and insists he's only getting bigger. One of the things that stood out to me in this article was a quote that you had, and I just have to ask you about this as a mature woman. Your team, you said that you designed specifically to be all under the age of 45. Is this ringing a bell?
So, great question. I know exactly what you're saying.
Okay, please.
I did not say that.
Okay, good. So, and this is why we have these conversations.
Of course, I did not say that. And if you actually go look at the wording, it doesn't say that.
Oh.
But we look at it and we think that's exactly what it says. And I didn't say that. And I immediately reached out and said, hey, I never said that. Right? And so, of course, when you look at our roster, you look online, you'll see that we have a very diverse community. Right? And so, yeah, I love that you looked at that. And I think that was the first thing that happened when that came up.
Because when people Google you, they might see that. And
you know what was so interesting about that is I was honored that they did an article and they did a feature on me. But what was so frustrating is that there was something in there that I didn't say that people interpreted it differently that overshadowed the rest of the article.
Yeah, and here I brought it up too.
I love
but
it.
you're setting the record straight now.
Yes, but I like when we talked before. I want to talk about everything. I'm a wide open book.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was. Those are the things that come along the way when you put yourself out there.
Yeah, well, the double-edged sword, right? I mean, there's the hashtag for a while. It was, what was it? I can't remember what it was. Something.
Oh, there's a million hashtags.
Oh, I'm sure maybe there are. Sorry, they wrote about the one here. But anyways, let's talk a little bit about your upbringing, and people want to know like where. So you're from the North Metro. Is it Blaine Fridley area?
Yep, I went to Fridley High School.
Okay. Tell me about kind of growing up, your family dynamic. You've talked about this, and you have a memoir that came out earlier this year, and I think a lot of people would be surprised to hear where you came from and
Yeah.
your situation.
Yeah, so you know, growing up, you know, my parents separated. My mom ended up being a single mom, working super hard to support the entire family. My dad, unfortunately, was an alcoholic. Like, there were a lot of challenges that went on there. I got introduced to sports a little bit later in life because of a lot of these things, which I mentioned earlier, that coach that really transformed my life. And then, you know, some of the tragedy that I went through is my dad, you know, was run over and murdered when I was in high school. And it was a super devastating loss, but it was also a gift at the same time. It taught me, it gave me a whole different appreciation for life. And it also really put me in a spot where it's like, okay, you've got to take life into your own hands, and you've got to get in the driver's seat of what you want this to look like. And so those were super challenging times, and I know a lot of people go through trauma and hardship, and everyone has their different version of what that is. But it also defined who I was. And so when I look back to the early days, you know, I used to think like, gosh, what's wrong with me? Like, this is super challenging. You know, some of the things that I went through. And then as I've more matured and got older, I realized, like, my dad being an alcoholic and showing up at home, not sure exactly what version of him you were going to get, it developed my intuition to a really high level. And so the gift, one of the biggest gifts I got from that is how intuitive I am. And so you hear a lot of conversations from, you know, behavioral science and psychologists around intuition and intuitiveness and stuff. And I will tell you, like, that is the best gift that I could have ever received from my dad. And it might sound interesting to anyone that's listening, that's like, wow, like, he lost his father in high school, and his dad was an alcoholic, and all this, and now he's sort of looking at it from a positive perspective. I think I would say those are some of the positives. I think one other highlight is he left me a letter before he passed away. He was in the National Guard, and we weren't sure if he was going to make it through deployment, so he wrote a letter for each, myself and each sibling individually for us. And I have that letter framed in my house, and I have it actually in my Arms Out book, which you had mentioned. And it just changed my life. Like, it changed my life to read that, and I just remember, like, you know, when I first received that letter, I remember just like crying and not being able to like even process it. I gave it to my mom, and I said, I just can't take this right now. And so when I graduated college and I started getting a little further in life, you know, I took it back and I got it framed, and now I have it in my house. I actually saw it this morning when I was getting ready. I look at it every single day. It's just a reminder of, like, you know, I mean, life's precious, as we know. Like, and I think that, you know, there's these reminders that come through life, and that happened to be one for me that made a big difference.
And you have a family?
I do. Yes.
Child, children?
Yes, I do. Yeah. So I love to call people by first initial, like I always have. So I've got V, who is you know, just in high school, and I've got little G, who is in college, and then I've got my fiance G. Wow. So I've got the three of them. I call them all by their initials. I always do. Anyone that knows me, either by first initial or, you know, first and last initial. And I've got some amazing women in my life that have made me such a better person and a better leader. And it's just an honor to have them in my corner.
We just have another minute or two left here, but do you ever get time off? Do you ever get to do anything other than work? Because I think people must think you probably work all the time.
Yeah, I love to fish. Like, I absolutely love to fish. Born and raised in Minnesota. It actually takes me back to, you know, the John boat that had, you know, water leaking in because we didn't have a lot of resources. I remember the bucket where I had to throw water out just so it didn't sink, and just being by myself. And I think growing up with the challenges that I went through, just going out and enjoying nature and getting that, you know, the fresh air and the clarity was so special for me. Like, so I love to fish. I play pickleball as well. So yeah, anything sports. I grew up playing sports, so I love going to sporting events as well, and of course spending time with the family too.
Yeah. I didn't get to about 40 of the questions I had in here, so perhaps to be continued. But we really appreciate you coming in and just kind of being willing to just answer whatever. It was really nice to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate your time very much. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back after this. All Day Live continues. Thank you, Kris.
Thank you.